The Cannabis Heals Me Podcast, episode 77.
You're listening to the Cannabis Heals Me podcast, where we explore the real stories of real people who have discovered the profound healing properties of the cannabis plant in their own lives. Find more at cannabishealsme.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Cannabis Heals Me podcast. This is your host, Rachel Kennerly, coming to you once again from the Storybook Inn Studios. How is your Monday going? I am doing pretty well on my end, except I have a gnat that's buzzing around the microphone, and I'm trying to slap it without slapping the microphone and talk while risking that it might actually fly into my face and well, not necessarily in my face. The worst part would be if it flew into my mouth. But it wouldn't be the first time that a bug flew in my mouth, because it seems like my jaws are always flapping. None of y'all are like that, right? None. Yeah, no, not at all. Couldn't be possible. Well, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate you coming in. There's tons of podcasts out there that you can listen to. So spending a little time with me is very much appreciated. And we do not take it lightly that you invest this time with us. Well, I do ask you, if you want to make sure you stay up to date with all the episodes, that you go out and subscribe to the podcast. And while you're out there subscribing, go ahead and give us a rating or a review. That gives us an extra boost in the algorithms. And your podcast catcher will actually recommend the show to other people who are listening to similar type shows. So that is a easy, free, cheap way that you can tell more people about the podcast without actually having to tell them. The podcast app will do it for you. And I got the gnat. Yay! Aha! Dead. Sorry. I am not a Buddhist. I will kill any gnats that are in my face. But you guys didn't tune in to listen to me talk about bugs and my deathly ways. You tuned in to hear another medical cannabis story, and I've got a good one for you today. I spoke to David Grantham. He has what's now referred to as complex regional pain syndrome. It used to be called reflex sympathetic dystrophy syndrome, but now it's been renamed within the past few years to complex regional pain syndrome. So David's going to come on and share with us his story and how cannabis gives him relief for this condition. And people that I've already had one guest on before, Ashley Sarton, who talked about her complex regional pain syndrome. It's basically like your body has been lit on fire. So I can't even fathom how excruciating that must be. And to know that that's just the way you have to live your entire life. It's a very disheartening disease. I think it's even referred to as the suicide disease, because it's so painful that people do what they need to do to extinguish that pain. And unfortunately, that sometimes means that they commit suicide. So I hope you guys will enjoy David's story today and take to heart what good medicine cannabis is for him. And, you know, it's not just David who cannabis is good for. It can be good for a lot of people in it. And unfortunately, David is in a state where it's not legal for him to medicate. So he has to go out of state and medicate. And then if he medicates in state, he's not sure, because he has to go to the black market to find that medicine. He doesn't know if it's safe or something that will help his body, or what's been used to produce that product. So people need access to legal cannabis, because having to go out and find your medicine on the black market, that's not a good place to have to go and find medicine. So without further delay, I'd like to welcome David to the program. I'm joined today by David Grantham. David, welcome to the program.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you coming on today. I guess it's been a couple weeks ago, I saw an article about some folks, because you're located in Alabama, correct?
Correct.
So I saw an article about some folks who had gone and talked to state legislators about the cannabis laws or lack thereof in Alabama, and your name was mentioned in the article. So I sought you out because I wanted to have you come on and share your story.
Right. Well, basically what they done is Alabama set up the Medical Marijuana Commission ahead of any laws, is what they done. So basically they're trying to, out of some of their, quote, words, what they said, they're wanting to make Alabama the toughest of laws is what they're trying to do. They're trying to make a perfect law, and there's no such a thing. You're always going to have to do amendments and, stuff like that. You're never going to have anything perfect. So, and, that's basically what they're doing, and that's what this commission is set up for. And, the one meeting they had the last time, one of the commission members even said that there was no such thing as medical cannabis.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, they're literally there to make laws and regulate. They're not there for their opinion on what they feel is and isn't with cannabis. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it sounds like there's people that are on the commission that don't even think that there's medical uses for cannabis.
Yeah, and I think the one that said that, I can't recall his name. I'd have to go back and read it again, or watch the video again. But the one that said that, I don't even think is on the commission anymore.
Well, he shouldn't be.
Absolutely not. I don't need his opinion telling me whether he thinks it is or isn't medically necessary. You're on a commission to regulate and make laws for it, not tell me you don't believe in it.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
No, that's okay. Now, what is this? Yeah, I mean, right now it's still illegal in Alabama, right? So it sounds like they got the cart ahead of the horse here.
That is when all this started, it started under the CARE Act this past year. It was Senator Ball and Senator, what is his name? He's actually the spokesman for the Medical Marijuana Commission here in Alabama. But, he even believes in it. He is what does he do? He's a pain doctor, I believe. And he's also the one that puts you to sleep. Go ahead.
Anesthesiologist?
Anesthesiologist, yeah. Yes. So, and he understands, there's a Dr. Stokes on it. Dr. Savarsky, the one that's doing all the CBD studies at UAB is on it. Okay. I mean, they have the right people on it, but they're trying to regulate something that is going to be hard to do what they're trying to do, if that makes sense. They're no flower, no growing, no, they're talking about vaping and pills. Of course, here we go, pills. Yeah. So how are we going to do this? Does the pharmacy get in that part too, to be able to, tell me what my body needs? So it's kind of hard for them to do that when, I've had RSD now, or CRPS, for 9 going on 10 years. So after I got the spinal cord stimulator and it failed, my RSD actually spread to where the battery's at, so I can't charge my battery.
Oh, wow.
It takes my breath away to actually charge the battery. So I just don't charge the battery anymore. I've got to get it taken out. The doctor wanted me to leave it in for a year. I left it in. It'll be almost 2 years when I get it out, but it's getting to where it's moving and the wires are kinked and it just does not feel very good.
Yeah, I bet not.
And they're telling me that I need to take Percocet 10. Anybody in the pain world and anybody that has RSD will tell you that they get Percocet. Say if they live in California, I know several, Arizona. We have a Facebook family, for the RSD world as well.
Uh-huh. And now, what is RSD? I know what CRPS is. That's complex regional pain syndrome. But what does RSD stand for?
It's a sympathetic dystrophy. Yeah, reflex sympathetic dystrophy. They changed it to chronic regional pain syndrome back years ago.
Okay.
RSD is just an old term. They call CRPS, they call it CRPS or whatever. A lot of us don't like that term, but it is what it is. We just do what we do. That's what we have to do.
So you've been struggling with this condition for like 10 years?
Yes.
Wow.
It will be 10 years. May 7th of 10 is when I actually got hurt the first time.
And then what kind of injury did you suffer that kind of kicked all this off?
I was a UPS driver, and just going to a house. I can tell you the exact address. I mean, I remember it like yesterday. Stepped off the curb, and there was a little lip there for the storm drainage when it rains. And my ankle just caught that lip. And when it did, my ankle literally touched the ground.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
And my whole foot, when I spun around backwards, and when I did, I just kind of collapsed and landed on my knee, on my right leg.
Okay. So it wasn't like a brain injury. It was just your ankle and your knee then.
No, it was actually what I got diagnosed with was a severe grade 3 sprain.
Oh, wow.
It tore the ligaments or the tendons away from the bone.
Uh-huh.
So they had to go in and which it was months later, before. First doctor I went to, that was on a Friday. He told me to come back Monday, and I should be ready to go back to work on Tuesday.
Oh my goodness!
Right.
For a grade 3 sprain, my goodness.
Right. So I ended up going into a different doctor that Monday because I think my calf had turned like purple.
Ooh.
From me keeping it elevated like I was supposed to. And kind of long story short, had a couple of injections in it. I think 6 or 7 to be exact. Kind of had more than I was supposed to in the area, but I had went back to work after a few months. And was trying to help them through peak season. I was just wearing what they call an ASO brace.
Yeah.
And, it laced up and Velcroed up. So, I done it. Well, when I went back to the doctor in January to get another injection, he basically told me, he said, David, you've had too many things. I can't keep giving you these injections.
And was it like a steroid, or what type of injection was it?
Yeah, he was giving me was it cortisone injections or something?
Mm-hmm.
The steroid they give you is what he was giving me to try to build it back up and help those ligaments and stuff build back up. But he gave me the max. He gave me over what I really should have got, just because I knew him and he was trying to help. So I went back in January, and he looked at my foot again and took me over to a different doctor in the building and let him look at it. And long story short, I had my first surgery like 3 days later.
Oh, wow.
So I had that surgery. They put me in a cast. It felt like I was literally burning from the inside out in that cast.
Now, did you have any of that burning sensation? Did that start after the surgery, or were you having problems with that before the surgery?
That started after the first surgery.
Oh, wow.
Is when that one started. After the first surgery, I was in a cast, and I knew something wasn't right because I could feel that burning. And that's just what it was doing, and that was kind of the start of what the RSD turned into. So, I didn't know what RSD was. I had no clue. And then when I went to a doctor, I'd gotten another referral to a doctor in Columbus. And so I went there. And when he walked in the room that day, he said, Mr. Grantham, he said, This is what you have. I'm sorry. We can try to help you all we can and make you comfortable. He said, but you literally need to go home, Google this disease, and learn all about it.
Wow.
I was in my 30s. I didn't think nothing about that. Dude, I'm going home. You'll fix this thing. I'm going back to work. It may take me a little longer, but I'm going back to work. I never did. I think I've had my ankle reconstructed 4 times.
Wow.
I've had the nerves cut to it, so I can't feel it, but I still get the ghost pain from that. I've had the epidurals. I've had the ganglion root blocks. I've had the spinal cord stimulator put in. I went through every avenue I know to go through with my disease, other than, like I had started before, they give me Percocet 10 here.
Mm-hmm.
And the proper protocol, just even in California, they give Percocet 10 just for breakthrough pain for RSD people. I'm not even on the proper regimen of opioids here, because it's such a different area. And it's the same way with cannabis. I can go there. I can go to Vegas. I can go to Colorado. I can go to all these legal states, and I can become what I call a normal person.
Yeah.
Because they can grow their own medicine. They don't have to worry about rat poison. I'm sure you've heard that lately.
Wow.
They found some of that in Alabama lately.
Oh, my goodness.
People spicing their marijuana they're selling with rat poison and fentanyl. And, I know this is the Bible Belt. I'm a Christian myself, but all I am asking for blatantly is help.
Right.
I mean, that's all I'm asking for.
Right. Yeah, and I don't think that's too much to ask.
If you want to look at me and judge me because a God-given natural herb or plant that you can grow literally in the soil if you wanted to, you want to judge me for that, so be it. You go out with your friends on the weekends and you party and you drink your beer, you drink your alcohol. I don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say other than that. I'm having to go to different states and literally making friends and family in other legal states just because I can go there and medicate.
Right.
To be a normal person. And people in the pain community understand when I say a quote normal person. Normal for us is getting that pain factor of your brain screaming at you. You're hurting, you're hurting, you're hurting. Just getting that factor down below on your shoulders so you can actually think and function as a proper individual. It's just like if you need Adderall and you take your Adderall because you need help being able to focus. What if I took your Adderall and didn't need it? What is that Adderall going to make me do? Bounce off the walls, stay awake, and just go crazy, right? It's the same way with cannabis. If I smoke something that is medically necessary for my body, I'm not going to get the recreational high that a recreational user would get. Do you understand that part?
Yeah.
Sometimes I tend to talk a little deep,
that makes
with
sense.
this part. But, I'm used to talking to a lot of pain patients and stuff. And, they understand where I'm coming from on that part. You know, do I do things? Yeah, it literally, I get to do things when I smoke,
Right. Yeah.
you know, and I can be that normal person in Colorado, in Las Vegas, in California, Arizona, go on and on and on. What do I get to do here? Look over my shoulder, look out my window and see if anybody's ever breaking in the house or going to, come in and arrest me for trying to go somewhere and medically medicate myself because I'm being vigilant for it, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's the terrible thing about prohibition is, you're criminalized for trying to get your life so that you can live your life instead of being in this intense agony and pain.
Right, right. And it's like I had told you before, last year when Hurricane Michael had come through, it literally, I don't know if it was that barometric pressure, but I can always tell with my body, like Michael, I knew a couple of days before something bad was going to happen. I even told my wife something bad was coming. And we had discussed going further north, me being where I'm at. I decided, nah, we'll just stay where we're at. Literally, I laid in the bed and something on my foot just literally felt like it was on fire, even stronger than what it normally is. Because with me, it feels like I got lighter fluid running through my veins.
Yeah.
That's what RSD is. And at any moment, my nerves can fire. And I hadn't fell in a while. Last year, I fell quite a bit. This year, I hadn't. But it's it's a different disease to where I can just be standing there and it feels like somebody stabbed a hot poker through my foot.
Mm. And this is the foot that you had the nerves cut on?
Right,
Wow.
right. But now it will do it in my whole body because now I'm diagnosed. I don't know. It to me, there are people on that commission that poke fun at Colorado and Colorado being the way they are with cannabis. And to me, Colorado is about one of the only states that has it right.
Yeah, they seem to have a pretty decent law then. Oklahoma's pretty good, but it's not recreational. It's all medical.
I think they kind of mirror them, if I'm not mistaken. They mirror Colorado.
So I was gonna go back. The spinal cord stimulator that you had put in almost 2 years ago, what did that seem to help at all? I'm assuming this is probably a pretty invasive surgery that they did.
Yeah. Um, they do a spinal cord stimulator. They will put a trial in just to see if it's going to help you. It's normally 3 to 5 days. I think I kept mine for 3 days. They don't want to leave them in too long because the wires are run outside of your body and there's a higher risk for infection. So they try not to leave them in too long, and when they done the trial, it seemed to help me okay. And, because it's basically, if you know what a TENS unit is, that's what a spinal cord stimulator is. A TENS unit has 2 electrodes.
Mm-hmm.
My paddle lead has 32,
Oh my goodness.
but it's still no longer than half the number 2 pencil. That's technology. it's went crazy these days, but I got the permanent one put in, and they had to go in and shave a couple of the vertebrae down to be able to attach the leads to my spine. And for the first month, I would say it done fairly decent. But then I started noticing my back started burning more and more.
Mm.
And it just wasn't feeling right for some reason. And then it got to where when I was charging it, it was taking my breath away. So I was like, nah. And then my wife looked at it. She said, David, it's purple around that incision.
Oh, wow.
That let me know that my RSD had spread to that area too. And that's why it was affecting me so bad. So I just don't even use it. It's just in there right now, waiting on me to get it out next month. I keep putting it off further and further because it was just that pain. Anybody with RSD understands that pain of waking up. If it is not controlled properly before you wake up, the pain when you wake up is like you're burning in hell.
Mm. Gosh.
And God knows I don't want to know what that feels like, in the afterlife. But good God Almighty, you might as well just build a bonfire and sit me down in the middle of it. That's what it feels like. And that's why I've put off this surgery for so long, because I'm scared.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably easier to deal with the pain from that as opposed to what you could potentially be facing if they don't have your pain managed correctly when you come out from under anesthetics.
Yeah, well, yeah. And two, with RSD, a normal person that would have that surgery, normal,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, if they're having a spinal cord stimulator put in, there's something wrong anyway. But a normal person's recovery time is like 4 to 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
RSD person was a year.
Oh, wow.
So, and it's still, just not good. It still just hurts. At times it feels like it gets up under that last rib and just sets in, and I can't breathe, and it's just horrible.
Yeah. Well, when did you discover cannabis, or when did you start considering cannabis as medicine for your condition?
Literally after my stimulator,
Okay.
when it started coming back like it did around that battery, my wife actually suggested
Really?
that I try and just see what it would do.
Well, let me ask you this: like, as far as, and I know you probably hate hearing this, but on a pain scale, what was your pain? On the medications that you were on versus your pain scale after you took cannabis.
The pain scale they always ask me when I go to pain management is always, 0-10. My pain never goes below an 8 or 9 ever.
Wow. Wow.
And that's what I tell them at pain management. It's and they keep asking me, well, if the medication's not helping, then why are we giving it to you? Right now it's the only option I have.
Yeah.
Is medication. Me going off to Colorado and experimenting and doing what I do to find the right thing for my body is, yes, I have to pay for it. And when I get back, even the trip hurts me when I get back. But
Yeah.
it still helps me go. when I'm there. And it's just hard to explain if you hadn't ever been there. But when you step off that plane in Colorado, your body just relaxes and you can feel that release while you're there.
Yeah.
I don't cough while I'm there. I don't, there's a lot of things that I can feel releases in my body, and you can tell over days that I start feeling better. But just as soon as I step off that airplane in Atlanta, it takes my breath away, like, because I can't breathe with that humidity hit me in the face like it does when I get back off that plane. And it takes my body a few days to get used to, and I was a UPS driver.
Yeah, so you worked in all sorts of weather.
I was in the weather. I was, the back of that truck was 130 degrees,
Yep.
No problem. Now, during the summer, I try not to even step in the sun.
Mm.
I'll get out and cut my grass. That's one of my things that I enjoy, that I like my grass to look good. But I pay for it when I do it, but then somebody sees me cutting the grass, or sees me out walking in the mall, or sees me out going to Colorado. Oh, well, he must be perfectly fine. That ain't the way it works with this stuff.
Right.
It don't just come and go as I want it to. Never goes away, no matter what. Even with the medical and smoking cannabis, it makes it to where I can feel normal again, and makes that pain level down to my shoulders to where I can carry that weight. If you have a constant person in your ear screaming, you're burning, you're burning, you're burning, you're burning, you can't hear anything else.
Yeah.
When you smoke cannabis, it literally comes down to shoulders. I can hear people. I can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear my wife. I can hear my daughter, my son, my stepkids. I can hear everything. But then as soon as it starts running out, that's when I get grumpy, 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 snap. That's what, pain is just, it's a different world for people that hadn't experienced it, and family members that hadn't had somebody with cancer or chronic pain, or, I've literally seen people with seizures and their hands shaking uncontrollably. I've literally seen them smoke and stop shaking instantly.
Wow.
So you can't tell me that it does not work. You can't tell me that. I've witnessed it. I know it because I've felt it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
I seem to get winded when I get kind of, it's just something that is my own house, my own state, just to be able to get medicated and do something that makes me feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, that you have to go out of state to try and find medicine that doesn't have rat poison in it is just it's beyond the pale. It's wrong.
Right. Between rat poison and spice and fentanyl, they're saying they found stuff laced with, between all that, we should be able to grow our own or go to a dispensary and buy that flower and see it ourselves. That's the way it should be. They shouldn't let pharmaceutical back in and say, oh, let's try to make a synthetic, or let's try to make a pill, a milligram pill. Mm-hmm. You cannot do that, because the book says, for what I have, a pain condition, the book says that I should be smoking or taking an indica dominant hybrid as far as cannabis.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That ain't the way my body is. My body relaxes with the sativa dominant hybrids. So I'm not out there just smoking weed to get high and everything else, just like even my own daughter is against it. She's at school, UAB. My son graduated pharmacy school. They're they don't have anything to do with me. I'm a drug addict.
I'm sorry to hear that,
over
David.
Sure. Right. That hurts. It really does. That ain't the only thing, but it hurts them thinking just because I want to be a normal person and feel better, that's what I get labeled as.
Yeah.
That's what I get judged as. It shouldn't be that way. I go over there, and what's funny about it is I actually go over there. I've been to California, Colorado, and know what percent my body needs to actually feel better. And they're trying to tell me what percent or milligram pills they're going to do. I don't understand that. And they're talking about the concentrator, the vapes, and we already know about the vape problem. I knew about the vape problem before it even really started. It's just, I don't know. To me, Alabama, and not just to me, they've even said it on the commission, they're going to be the toughest regulated state. So Florida is going to be recreational next year, I believe.
Yeah. Well, that's a little closer than Colorado.
I mean, I literally have one of the committee members on the cannabis, the medical marijuana commission, came down off of the podium and tell me how to get my license or my medical marijuana card in Florida.
Oh, really?
And he's on the state of Alabama's medical marijuana committee.
Wow.
The commission. So, I mean, they're already telling you, hey, you're just going to have to go to Florida. We're going to do it this way and this way only.
Yeah.
Basically like Florida did. And where did it get Florida?
Right.
Nowhere.
Yeah,
because now you can get flour.
Yeah, I mean, all these politicians try to make rules, and they don't even understand the plant or how people use it to medicate themselves. But they want to make all the rules, and they're just preposterous rules, like the pills. How are they even going to do that? That makes no sense whatsoever.
I have no idea. I mean, it literally, it has taken me 2 years to go to different places, Colorado, Las Vegas a couple times, California a couple times. Just going in there and buying the highest percent they got. I'm going in there, talking to them, studying before I go, and saying, okay, what have I tried? What do I need to do next?
Yeah.
I went all the way through the indica side because literally that's what is scientifically they say is for me. But that's just not the way it works for me. I'm that person when I take a medication, if it has a strong side effect. Do you know the when they have a commercial, they tell you about the drug in the first 5 seconds and the next 50 seconds is warnings?
Right.
I'm that person that's in the warning that has the worst side effect from that drug. It always happens.
Wow.
So whether it's kidney stones, whether it's, I had an amnesia for a few months because I was on different ones that I shouldn't have been on. 3,600 milligrams of gabapentin. Didn't even know who my own kids were at the time. Just stuff like that. You don't have to worry about that on cannabis. That ain't the way it works.
Yeah.
I went over there. I found what percent I need and what percent helps me. And then I smoke probably 3 to 4 times a day when I'm there. And that's what regulates my body.
Yeah. Do you still have to take the pain meds while you're there, or does cannabis replace them?
No, cannabis definitely replaces.
Wow.
But when I get back here, then I have to double up on them, because I can't get it here. And I'm scared to get it here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
That's why it should be just legalize it. Everybody wants it. Legalize it.
Yep. Yeah, politicians shouldn't be standing between people and medicine.
They shouldn't, but I guarantee you one thing in my lifetime that won't happen is Alabama will be recreational. It'll never happen. That's not even what they're wanting. That's not what they're seeking. It will never happen.
Yeah. Well, you can't, that's not something you can put on the ballot in Alabama. It has to run through the politicians, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and see, it shot through the Senate so fast here, the House wasn't expecting it to, and they threw it on the back burner because the CARE Act had Lenny's Law and Carly's Law attached to it.
Yeah.
And the way they had done it is they threw medical marijuana in there up under it, and it shot through the Senate fast.
Really?
So,
wow.
Oh, yeah. It went through there, I think almost unanimous, maybe 3-0 or something. It went through with a landslide. And then they waited until the very last minute to get it to the medical committee. They had to have a hearing or something on it by a medical committee. And they wasn't even going to hear it. And a bunch of people were getting on Facebook, hey, we need to go to these people, let them know what we're doing, how we do it, just to get high, stuff like that. And I went down there, and I think there was 50 of us that day. Went in the House and talked to different House representatives. And that day, they actually set up and agreed to set up the Medical Marijuana Commission. They let Lenny's Law and Carly's Law refund, or they let that keep going, the studies on it, and created the commission. Now the commission has to report to the House Speaker by December 1st or December 2nd, somewhere in there. And this commission is the one that is supposed to be doing the laws and regulating and recommending how to do it in the state.
Well, I hope it'll go well. At least you've got one guy who is opposed to medical cannabis off the commission. Maybe the other folks will pick up the slack.
Right. It's starting to gain momentum here too. In the meantime, we just, people like me, we just have to travel.
Yeah.
And go see people like Granny, and be able to actually let my body relax for a little while at least. So people in the pain community totally understand that part.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, David, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. And I'm hopeful that Alabama will get with the program and get you to a position where you can have access to clean medicine that's not got rat poison in it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate it. And, if you need me, I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll
absolutely.
be fighting the same way.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to y'all there. We're kind of in the same boat here in Texas as far as, having to fight tooth and toenail for it. These Bible Belt states, they're going to be a tough nut to crack. That's for sure.
Ain't no doubt. We're both in the same boat. Ain't no doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, David, and best of luck in your fight. And I appreciate your willingness to come on and talk to me today, and also your advocacy work, because it's important for patients to go out and talk to politicians and put a face to the cause, so that they don't think it's just about stoners wanting to get high.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks, David. I hope you have a good evening.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it.
Right.
Show notes for today's episode can be found out at cannabishealsme.com/77. Thank you so much to David for coming on and sharing his story. Go out to the show notes page. I've put a link to a documentary called Trial by Fire. David actually shared it on his Facebook. So I wanted to share that for you guys to, if you want to get kind of a little more insight into what life is like for someone with CRPS, go out and watch that video. It's heartbreaking, honestly, and to think that some politician gets to decide whether or not these people can have access to cannabis as medicine is just infuriating. I forgot to mention on last week's episode that our first podcast episode came out on October 25th of 2018. So the podcast is officially a year old. Isn't that cool? And then our first interview came out on November 1st. I can't believe I've been doing this show for a year. It seems like it's only been a few months. 1 year down and a whole bunch more to go, at least until cannabis is legal in the United States. Hopefully that's very soon. But really, honestly, even after it's legalized, I'm going to keep doing this so long as the good Lord is willing that I do this, until everybody knows that this plant is medicine. It's not what you've been told your whole life. It's medicine. So eat an extra piece of cake tonight for us in celebration of the Cannabis Heals Me podcast 1 year birthday. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back here on Thursday with another educational episode. Kurt Robbins is going to be my guest. And if you don't know who Kurt is, then my suggestion is that you Google Kurt Robbins with a C, or Gooey Rubinski, and that'll give you a little glimpse into who we're going to be talking with on Thursday. We're going to talk terpenes, we're going to talk cannabinoids, we're going to talk about industry regulation. It's going to be a great episode. He's been involved in the cannabis industry for a long time, and he's going to come in and drop some knowledge on us. So we'll be back here on Thursday. You guys have a great week until then. See you later. Hit the subscribe button and you'll never miss an episode of the Cannabis Heals Me podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider leaving us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or whatever podcast app you're using. Do you have a suggestion for a guest on Cannabis Heals Me? Send an email to podcast@cannabishealsme.com. We'd love to hear from you. Please do not take any information from Cannabis Heals Me or its guests as medical advice. Contact your licensed physician before taking cannabis or using it for medical treatments.